Hey, what up? This is Neil, and this is a video that I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and I think it's something that's important. I haven't found any other videos out there on YouTube like this, and what I want to do in this video is I want to look at several different knife options that you could potentially bring backpacking. I think that this video is going to be helpful for the person who is considering their first backpacking trip all the way to those people who've been doing this for decades. And the reason that I say that is because there are a ton of different knife options out there that you could be bringing with you on your backpacking trip. Instead of just looking at me this entire video, what we're gonna do here in a minute is we're just gonna shift the perspective and we're gonna start looking at all these different knives that I have here in front of me. What I wanna do in each of these knives, in each of these cases, is I wanna look at the kind of overall length, let's call that some dimensions. We're gonna put each of these knives on the scale, and then to the best of my recollection, I'm gonna tell you what I paid for these knives, and I'll even send you some info on where you could find them. And so if you're looking for a knife, if you're thinking about knives, maybe you have more knives than I just showed you in your drawer, but you wanna do some backpacking, I think that this video is gonna be for you. And even if you wanna do some day hiking, you might even just say like, well, what do I need on the trail? I talk to people who are going backpacking and they think they need some Rambo knife, you know, some huge blade that you find in your kitchen drawer. And I just think quite the opposite of that. I think some of these knife options that I showed you can be perfect for your needs. So let's turn this camera around and let's look at these different options here in front of me. Here's all the knives that we're gonna look at in this video. So we're gonna look at this Gerber knife. I think this is actually called a Gerber Gator that I've had for a long time. And then we'll look at next we'll look at the Gerber Dime. We'll also bring in this neck knife from Mountain Knives. This one I got as a present from my wife. I actually have two Swiss Army knives here, basically the same thing. One is mine, one is my son's that we take when we're backpacking. I have this, it's not a fixed blade knife here. Actually got this one from Big 5. And then another knife here, which is a Damascus steel knife from Buck and Bear Knives. This is actually a really nice knife. And so let's jump in and we'll just kind of look at the differences of all of these knives. To start off, we're going to look at this Gerber knife here. I want to say this is called a Gerber Gator, but I don't see any of that. I have had this knife probably for over 20 years. I actually got this for a backpacking trip that I did into Costa Rica. And the reason that I got such a massive knife for that trip is because we were building suspending rope bridges so the Churupo Indians could cross the rivers and so that they could get to the other side. It was a really cool trip. And so what we need to do here is, like we said, we're going to look at the length of all of these options. So this knife, when extended, is almost 9 inches. The weight on this knife. So just the knife without the sheath, 4 ounces, almost 4.5, a little over 4.5 ounces. If we add the sheath to it, there you go, 5.5 ounces total on this knife. Now, I don't think that I could tell you how much I paid for this knife because I've had it so long, but one of the benefits that I like when you're carrying this knife on a backpacking trip, I think it actually goes in this way. There we go, let's go that way, is you can just put this into your belt. And I really like this sheath option compared to this where there's nothing really holding it in. I mean, the knife is in there, but we can talk about that a little later. So for this knife, you're at about 9 inches total length, a little over, just right at 5.5 ounces, and the cost is unknown because I've had it for so long, because Gerber is such an amazing company that this knife has been rad. Next, I think we said we'll look at this. This is a neck knife from Montana Knives. This is actually a hand-shaped knife. I pulled out that way because this thing is razor sharp. This is something that I carry when I'm backpacking, and I only carry this around my neck. And what I found is that when I am, and you'll hear that to click in, when I am carrying this knife, it really is just more in case I need protection against something. This isn't something that you want to be kind of fiddling with all the time, because the more you pull this out of the sheath, the looser this area could get. This knife, I'm going to just do with the sheath for the length here. We're at about 6.5. So probably with the knife, you're at about 6 inches on that. And let's pull the scale in and we'll see where we're at on total weight. Total weight, 2.3 ounces. So we're significantly lighter on this one. Now, the cost on this knife was significantly higher. I think this was $175 for this knife. And this was a present that my wife got me one year for Valentine's Day. All right, our next knives that we're gonna look at, we'll just look at one of these, is Swiss Army knife. This is actually the smallest one you can get, and you can see it has some sort of company logo on here. The reason for that is because I buy these knives off eBay. I think I was able to pick this one up for a couple bucks, and I like this. You have a nail file here. You fold that in, and here is your knife blade. A little dirty. On the other side, you have scissors. And this is really, for me, a fan favorite for backpacking, because you have the scissors, you have the blade. There's even like a toothpick right here, and there's tweezers on this side. I really like how light these things are. I found, like I said earlier, that when I'm backpacking, you don't need this massive, bushcraft knife. This little 2.5 inch knife really will do the trick for whatever you need. And the weight on this one comes in it's not even an ounce. So this is something that'll be super lightweight, carrying in your pocket as another option. And the price on these, I think I said, maybe I didn't, but I was picking these up on eBay a couple years ago for $4 plus shipping. I recently checked them. They are a little more expensive now with the cost of living in 2024, but this has been a great knife to have. The next one that I want to look at is the Gerber Dime. And I actually saw this one, I think, from a guy named Tayson, who runs a company called Outdoor Vitals. And this Gerber Dime knife has a lot in here. It actually kind of functions like what you and I would consider like a Leatherman, right? So you have some pliers here. I like having these, especially when I'm fishing out in the backcountry. You do have a knife here, so if I need to open something, if I need to cut a paracord, if I just have an issue that's going on. You also do have scissors here on this one. And if you come to the other side, you have like what you can use as a screwdriver, which is great if you have an issue with trekking poles or some piece of gear while you're out on trail. You have a little punch that also has a nail file on it. You can see, maybe you can hear those ridges too. And this one also has like a package opener. This thing has come in handy so many times when I use it. This one also is just right in that 3-inch mark. And let's pull it in and we'll throw it on the scale, see what we're gonna get here. So we're at 2.3 ounces on the Gerber Dime knife. I'm gonna tip my hand real quick and tell you this is one of my favorite backpacking knives, and I'll get to that in a second. Next, we're gonna move to this Marines knife with a little flip here. This was just, I would call this kind of a cheapy knife that I got at Big Five one day. This knife cost me $20. And it was on sale. It's an 8-inch knife when fully extended. I used this knife a lot kind of for what we would call everyday carry, because you could just clip it on your pants and it was easy to use. This knife is gonna weigh in at 4 ounces on the dot. Now, this is a knife, you might have something like this laying around your house, and if you're looking to start backpacking, just bring something like this. You can cut open a meal, you have a knife if you need something, You can always kind of use, the other side of this knife here as a screwdriver in, what you and I would call an emergency situation. And the last knife that I have here is a Buck and Bear knife. I've actually never used this knife. I got it one year for Father's Day. And this is a fixed blade knife with a sheath. This knife comes in at 7 inches. You could, if you'd like, throw some paracord right there. You can see that hole so that you could keep it. But I really like this knife as a Damascus steel knife. But what I realized for me and for backpacking is this wasn't something that I need. This just touched my finger just a little on that turn. I doubt you could see it, but I could tell this blade is sharp. And so let's go ahead and we'll take this and we'll throw it on the scale here. Another benefit of this knife is you can put this on your belt. So, this might be a great knife for a day hike if you just needed something. So on the scale here, we're at 5.5 ounces, which, if I remember correctly, is the exact same, as our Gerber knife that we started here with. There you have it. There you have 6 different knives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different knives, different styles that we looked at here in this video. You need to figure out for you, do I want a knife that folds up, or do I want a fixed blade knife? Do I want something that comes with its own sheath, or am I fine getting something that's really just going to be able to stick in my penny pocket? And if you looked at the title of this video, you're probably saying, Neil, tell me what the best knife is. And really, here it is the best knife is the one that works for you. And I'm not saying that as a cop out. I'm not trying to, kind of pedal back on any of these. You really have to figure out what works for you. And as you can see with my knife collection here, I've had to do the same. For me, what I'm gonna take on a backpacking trip is kind of one of these 3 options. My first is probably gonna be this Gerber dime. This is probably the one knife that I'm gonna be bringing with me primarily because of the options that it has. I love to do some fishing when I'm in the backcountry, and having this is just a set of pliers for me out on the trail. I really like having that. Sometimes I will bring my Gerber dime and I'll pair it with my neck knife, just to have this neck knife just right here. You can pull it right away in case you need something, in case you're in an emergency situation. But if you're looking for cost efficiency, these little Swiss Army knives off eBay, you can buy them on Amazon. Keep an eye out. They might be on sale on Amazon. So here's what I would love to hear from you is, what knife are you using? Drop a link down, drop a comment down here in the comment section. Tell me what knife you're using. And if you are interested in backpacking, take a look at this video over here. I've just recently made a video of 7 things you can leave at home for your next or your first backpacking trip. As always, hope this video is helpful. Have a great day.